Hello, welcome everyone. Real Talks One podcast starts out today. We are going to discuss the changes that we are seeing in the management consulting, strategy consulting domain, and we'll start out with really defining what these consulting companies used to do, how the landscape has changed, and with the AI onslaught that we are seeing for the past 3 years plus, how do we think the industry will shape? What are some of the things that you can expect, and things along those lines? So, growing up, I used to really value McKinsey quite a bit. In fact, it used to be something that I used to dream of actually when I was still at school. That one day I'll continue my MBA post engineering, and maybe if possible will land McKinsey. And just 2 decades ago, or maybe even 3 decades ago, it was very prestigious to join a management consulting firm because they had a lot of overseas assignments. They built very beautiful strategies and presentations. It was a very demanding role, like people used to work 18, 20 hours a day, but then they had a very high growth as well. So there was a kind of a charm for all these McKenzies and Bain and AT Kenerys of the world, and rightly so. Excuse me. So people really used to value this, and I do understand that many of these folks used to hire people from all your IIMs, and even to some degree, even people from IITs would move into these companies. And of course all your Harvard, Stanford MBA used to join them. So they had their cake and they ate it too. They were very respected professionals. In fact, many of the people who were like partners or senior partners in these firms actually went ahead and started heading a lot of industry companies and things like that. And around 2015-16 time frame, we saw a lot of these BCG, McKinsey, Bain consultants who used to do strategy started leading basically a lot of D2C companies when this revolution of direct to home consumer basically business started. In fact, if my memory serves right, there was this company back in Germany, um, Rocket, basically. I think, Rocket Investments, or that's how the name was, and um, they basically copy pasted a lot of businesses that were successful in the US and tried to replicate that across growing economies. So you had something like Food Panda, then you had Jabong, and then bunch of other companies, basically targeting like Southeast Asian countries and India in particular, then Middle East, Latin American countries, and Rocket Internet. I think that was the name of the overall firm. Even all the CEOs and things like that they used to hire were mostly from BCG, Bain, and those kind of consulting backgrounds. Today, if you look at, none of those companies actually exist, or even though if they exist, they are actually acquired by some other larger organizations. So from a longevity perspective, they haven't fared very well, especially. And then more recently, if you see, Starbucks actually had hired a veteran McKenzie partner, and I think in about 18 months they had to let him go because they think that, even though with all the slide decks and good polished strategy and things like that, he was not able to turn around the company. And this is not the first time you will hear this, that many of these consulting folks, who seem to be know it all, and they give you the thought process about how do you expand your company, or how do you enter new markets, or how they even consult the governments of the day upon mega projects and things like that. But when it comes to be an operator, they don't seem to work very well. all those strategies and all just remain strategies, and when it comes to implementation and execution, they fail very heavily. So this has used to be the norm. I'm not saying that the entire industry is on the doldrums or it is going to go down, but fast forward 2025, 2026 now, you will see that the relevance of these consulting companies kind of going down. They are not the prized companies which people used to eye about, and there is a lot of things that have come out in the open that was never there in the past, and people have started realizing what they're worth. So when the AI actually came into the picture, and soon enough people were able to analyze the data, analyze the reports, summarize it, generate new reports, graphs, etc., then people saw like what exactly the consulting strategy firms were actually doing. And to everyone's surprise, it seemed that except for key value add and recommendations these consulting companies would bring in, majority of the data wrangling, processing, etc., was already being able to done through all these chat gpt and generative ai tools. So don't get me wrong, again I'm explaining very niche kind of a thing because I am in the same discipline as well. But think about it, right? So I have actually been interviewed as an expert on various different industries, including internet, data, machine learning, teleco, and e-commerce and other kind of industries. And I have been contacted by McKinseys and Bains and IT Kenerys of the world, BCGs, as well as multiple private equity and hedge funds, etc. And the way they structure their questions is they will ask about a given industry, understand what the competition is, what the key differentiation between the competing partners are, the pricing, the functionality, the scalability, the reliability, etc. Then they will ask about like what are the products and features that you have used about these companies, how do you see these going in the next like 5 years, etc. So they'll interview many of the industry experts, and then they'll basically build a kind of a report combining the ranking and rating gathered from experts such as myself, and publish this report suggesting that this is how the industry is going to evolve, or this is how market is currently, and in the next few years this is where they see the market is going to go. Now, if you basically start basically getting this data directly through internet, and if a chat gpt or generative ai is able to exactly replicate this information for you automatically, then you basically don't need those kind of expert interviews, and have those associates to basically go and interview these kind of experts. So first layer of that kind of thing vanishes. Secondly, if you think about that, many of these industry reports that they publish, it's basically just collecting data from various organizations and institutes, collecting it together, beautifying it, putting together some graphs and analysis on top of it, and then basically sharing it with larger section of population. In fact, recently, I think Deloitte, as well as maybe some other company as well, have been fined uh, for I think few $100,000 because they generated a strategy report earlier in the year, and very recently now also, which was found to be generated through Chat GPT. And basically, I don't know the complete details, if it was like completely generated from Chat GPT or they used it for assisting themselves and generating that. It's a little bit hard for me to say. I think if you dumb it down so much that you basically throw all the inputs to like a large language model and ask it to generate a, like a report, and then submit it to the client, why can't the client do the same thing by themselves? Why they have to hire a consulting company, right? So I think this is exposing a lot of flaws in this current model that is out there, and how these consulting companies are shooting themselves in their own foot. But largely the fact is that a lot of these consultants used to employ analysts or entry level consultants. Now you don't need that, because all the data ingestion, data collection, data cleansing, etc., is very easily being done by basically chat gpts and llms and tools such as these. So you don't actually need any kind of heavy lifting that used to be done by junior analysts and things like that. Now, on top of that, if you think about building like a draft, comparing multiple reports, analyzing the industries, etc., even that work can be done pretty efficiently by like a chat GPT, etc. So you may ask, like, what is the differentiation then if all these steps can be done by chat GPT and LLMs, etc.? Then what is the value add, like a strategy consultant or management consultant adds? See, collecting the data, organizing it into a very good articulate fashion, publishing a report, probably those things chat gpt and llms are able to do. But prioritizing what needs to be shown, what needs to be hidden, basically re-evaluating whether it makes sense or not, validating the inputs that are basically being derived, and recommending the right solutions is where the real value add is, and which is where the senior partners and others should to come in. So that's the real value, which I don't think even today any of the models. So models can give you options actually, right? They can create very beautified slides and things like that, but they cannot give you the brain or the thought process behind it. They can just collect the data, present it in a presentable fashion, and they can mimic that they have basically given you a recommendation. Actually it is just a collection of things, they are like presenting it to you. That's about it. So if all these consulting companies even today can do the underlying like heavy lifting, or the front ending work that used to be done by a lot of other agents and things like that, where they used to spend a lot of days, spend a lot of hours in just collecting the data, synthesizing it, and formulating it into this new template and format. Those things can be now fully automated through these llms. And then the senior partners can now focus primarily on the value add, which is the prioritization, recommendation, etc. And for those reasons, I think a lot of those entry level, mid level analyst, and engagement managers roles will basically vanish. And we have already seen that happening. Like Accenture cut down a lot of their consultants, I think last year or early this year. Then McKinsey has been steadily cutting it down. We have heard that again McKinsey is going to lay off quite a few of, maybe in thousands, many of the full-time employees that they are having. And if you see, a lot of now industry leaders also are not requiring any kind of consulting organization to tell them what needs to be done. They are actually using their own brains with the help of generative AI tools to come out with these strategies and all by themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, even a partner or any senior executive from a consulting company has to talk to the industry leaders, understand what the challenges are, what problems they are facing, and force them to think through like what is that they want, how they want to see it. And then a consultant would basically provide them like a recommendation of what can be done, what needs to be changed, what transformations need to be done. So many industries are now choosing to do it by themselves, because if they have to answer these questions themselves, why not answer them and feed it back to generative AI tools to generate those reports, and then continuously iterating on them to tweak them until they reach a like a desired state. So those kind of experiments are happening. How good those experiments are is anybody's guess, right? So even the strategy given by management consultants is not always accurate, because strategy is kind of a long term thing. It is at a very high level, right? So it gives you the big picture, but then you still need to develop the tactics to achieve that strategy. And in today's like fast moving world where geopolitics is changing on a like a week on week basis, your tactics have to be very very dynamic. That goes without saying. On top of that, even your strategy actually sometimes has to change. uh, Back in the past, like maybe decade, 2 decades ago, once you basically formalize the strategy, you just had to do the execution part. Nowadays, and then in execution, you have to come out with new tactics, you have to change, you have to update the tactics again and again. But then in today's world, not only the tactics are updating again and again, you may have to remodify your strategy, rethink your strategy again and again, because world is moving so fast. That's the order of the day. And for those reasons, actually, the future aspects of strategy consulting, management consulting, and consulting as a whole is going to change. So all the data analysis, uh, you know uh, basically any kind of analysis, recommendation, creating ppts, creating reports, etc., all these jobs will slowly get automated and eliminated. And then only the very senior level consultants or partners and those who can really add value, differentiate, are going to be required. And more companies will start employing, expecting that, rather than just some basic industry reports, etc., that they can themselves generate through generative AI models. And as a result, you would see that many of these companies are not hiring in campuses in the number they used to, because the requirement for that entry level staff, etc., is let's dwindling quite a bit. So that's how I see in the future, like 2026 and beyond, consulting, management, strategy as a whole will see a lot of consolidation. A lot of entry level, mid level staff will start basically depleting. And overall, I think the large language models will have a very devastating impact with respect to employment in these industries. But then, in one way, it is good for these industries, because as a result, they will make these industries very, very efficient. In fact, even the industries themselves are going to become very, very efficient, because all these strategies, etc., they can build now by themselves and operate on it. And I think, in one way it is good, because we have seen a lot of phases where a lot of these consultants used to become the CEO of these tech companies or D2C companies, etc., try to scale them, but then they were not very successful. So fast forward in, like, after like 2022, 2023, we already started seeing that that age of these consultants becoming the CEOs is long past us. There was a very big spike during 2014, 15, 16 time frame, but by the time we hit like 2020, 2021, it was already down. And by 2025 now, we don't see that happening, wherein all these consultants and all take on CEO positions with these larger organizations. So I think, again, industry is shifting. I'm not saying this shift is going to be permanent, but I'm just letting all of you know, because I have been in the space, and I interact with these folks, and I want to analyze exactly what is the impact of generative AI on these roles, and how the industry is basically shifting. Having said that, I'm not suggesting that you will not require any management or strategy consulting going forward, but their role is going to change in such a fashion that just basic reporting, basic analysis, summarization, comparison of industries, etc., will not cut it. You would require a lot of recommendation, wide glove level kind of support to companies, and prioritization. Those will be some of the things which I believe partners, senior engagement managers, etc., uh, are able to add value. But then a lot of people will now no longer see these consulting companies as their like career options, where they can join and learn and grow from there. So that's a shift, I think, that is going to happen. Now, similarly, on the system integration side, or IT consulting, as we know, uh, again, I have talked about this multiple times as well, that lot of entry level work on coding and testing and maintenance, etc., is going to get automated. It is already happening right now, and so you will have lot less number of people basically joining these consulting companies. But again, having said that, I'm not saying they'll completely eliminate the role of consulting companies, but it's just that again their roles will also change. They will expect these consulting companies to take on end-to-end architect roles, digital transformation roles, where they basically change the entire company strategy through technology and things like that. So I think roles will shift into those kind of like enterprise architecture, company IT strategy, how do they digital transform the companies by using AI, cloud, analytics, and things like that. Those will become prominent, I think, and that's the level of detail they will expect, rather than just outsourcing simple like IT projects and you code this much and charge me basis on the coding. So those days will start kind of dwindling, I think. Entry level also folks in basic coding and all will have a very hard time going forward. It is slowly going to eliminate, but then more like senior engineers, principals, and things like that will be in high demand, because they will be required to do the system design, enterprise architecture, strategy, that kind of areas. So with that, I'll leave for today, and I hope you are enjoying your time. Do let me know if there are any topics you think I can talk about. So there is a question, Carter tax clips. Can AI replace a video editor like a good editor, and what is the future in it? So, lot of video editing, if you see, is now being done automated, and I can give you an example. Like when the movies, etc., were being made across the world, even like a decade back, people started using VFX, and so you will see a lot of the VFX basically automatically changes the characters, adds a green screen, and they can put some graphics and images, and it can completely feel as if everything that like an actor is doing is in real actually. So this is already happening for almost a decade, and now with generative AI, etc., these thing tools will become much more easier to do. So anywhere wherein you have like content editing, you can see even auto tune is being used for almost decade or two in the industry for music, right, wherein they can change the way you sing, and they can make it more kind of melodious and things like that. With generative AI, these things will become even more easier, because you can completely mimic the voice of like very good actors and actresses and singers and vocalists and things like that. So in my opinion, if a video editor is like extremely like powerful, they are like very skilled, etc., maybe they will not be replaced. But then most of the video editing, audio copyright editing, copywriters, etc., will be replaced by generative AI tools, because that's the nature of the beast, right? Wherever you have tons of content and you have to generate a new content based upon that, that's the like sweet spot of generative AI, right? Whether it is textual content, audio, video, all those areas. And so I think those video editing, etc., maybe I think video editors role will change, rather than them doing the entire editing of a video. Like for instance, like in YouTube, right? Right now I'm building this live podcast. Many times, what YouTube will do, it will basically divide this whole podcast into like sections, and they determine those by themselves, either through the breaks or through the content that I'm been talking about, that maybe this becomes different chapters, right? It's okay, because it's not high risk business for me, because I don't care about it that much. But for a, let's say, a movie or a series, etc., that they want to make sure that those transitions are like seamless. They want to do transitions only when it kind of makes sense. So like a automated software can recommend them that these are the possible transitions and these are the possible breakages, etc., but then a video editor can kind of either accept that recommendation right away, or they can modify or audit them and change the transitions from one to other, or do certain kind of changes. So I think first of all, I think video editors efficiency will increase manifold, because a lot of the heavy lifting a video editor does will be done by the automated software. Their role will be more to do audit and accepting it or modifying things here and there. And as basically things kind of improve over a period of time, even that will not be needed actually. So I think if a person is an expert video editor and all, they will still have a responsibility, like they will have their jobs. But I think entry level, mid level folks will have a very tough time actually, because software can already do that for them. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks, Carter. And next is, and I think it is not limited to video editing. It's for audio, it's for movie generation, even text like knowledge work, wherein you write a lot of articles, abstracts, and things like that. Copywriting, copy editing, and all. It's basically disrupting all those areas actually, including coding, right? Like the very fact through which like people write software code and things like that, that's also getting disrupted. And everywhere almost similar theme is coming out, that entry level, mid level kind of roles are kind of diminishing in value. There is a lot less hiring happening on that front, whereas more senior level, principal, distinguished level engineering, and those folks are becoming in high demand because they can architect the overall systems, come out with the big vision and things like that. So with that, I'd like to end my topic here today. Please like, share, and subscribe, and do recommend if there are any other things you would like for me to cover. If there are any further questions, I can basically answer them in this live session. If not, you can write it on the video, and then I'll respond back. With that in mind, it's a good winter's time. Enjoy your time, and spend time with your family and friends. Eat healthy, sleep right, exercise, and hopefully, all your thoughts and all your prayers will get answered as we move into the new year. With that, have a nice day and take care. Talk to you soon. Till our next episode. Bye.